I heard a quote the other day, and I normally don't start off quotes or start a conversation off with quotes from other people, but I heard it and I thought it was relevant to you, so I'll read it out. There are a lot of events that took place at an early age for me, events that would one day turn me into a monster of a man or a good man, full of knowledge, wisdom, or understanding. And I heard that like literally 2 days ago, just before this conversation. And understanding what I guess you went through as a child, thought you would resonate with that quote.
Probably goes hand in hand with what we'll talk about before. I'm not grateful that I had to go through stuff as a kid, but I'm sort of grateful that I was at an age where I didn't really understand what was going on, where my older siblings, they're a bit different to me in the way they see things. But there's no doubt if I was that age, then I'd be in a similar boat. And I'm obviously, as I said, I'm not grateful things happen, but you know, I've seen my siblings do things in certain ways, and it sort of made me not want to do that or not be like them in a way, and which is really hard to say about your family. And you know, I love them and they are my family, but some of the things they've done, I've seen growing up, just with like violence and alcohol and drugs, it's really hard to say. Like, I'm not grateful for it, but in a way, I am grateful because, you know, if I didn't have those events in my life, then maybe I wouldn't be the person I am today.
You talked about being grateful for it at that age. What do you think, was it perhaps an innocence at that age then, or an understanding of what actually happened that made you say that?
I think I was obviously young. I was 6 years of age. So I didn't really understand how big of a thing it was. Like, I can remember vaguely getting home from school. We had like this really long driveway and there were just cops everywhere. There's like a helicopter flying over the house. Yeah. And we walked down the driveway, obviously knew something had gone on. And I walked inside. My siblings had like locked themselves in their bedrooms, obviously hysterically crying. And that's sort of a bit of a blur for me. Like, I don't have a lot of memories, but the older I get, just having conversations, things just sort of come to mind without even realising. But there's no doubt if I was older, then maybe I would have made different decisions to maybe be a different person than I am today.
What are some of those things that come to mind?
Probably the biggest thing for me is I've just always wanted to hang out with good people. I think like a reflection of myself is the people I hang out with. And like, I've got a great bunch of mates. I've got a great partner and her family that I just love spending time with. And I think that was a thing as a kid as well. I always went back to footy. Like, footy was like such a little family for me to get away. And it still is. Like, footy is, I'm coaching down in Warrigal. It's like my family. It's like my home away from home. It's just like an outlet for me. And I always speak to my partner about obviously getting a bit older. Like, you know, it might be time to give it up, but it's working big hours and stuff. It's just such a big outlet for me. Like, I can go, don't have to think about anything, and I just love doing it. But yeah, when I think back to it, as we said before, like, it was really weird because you obviously hear of things happening, like people getting killed and stuff, and then all of a sudden you get home from school one day and your dad's been murdered. It was like, I was so young, and in a way, I never talked about it because I was embarrassed, because I don't know why it made me feel embarrassed, but even at school and stuff, you'd like, oh, what did your parents do? Well, mum does this. And I'd always lie and say like dad was a mechanic, just because maybe it was an instinct that I didn't want to then go into the conversation of having to talk about it. And I actually haven't spoken about it a lot, to be honest. I've done a couple of interviews, obviously through footy when I played my first game and stuff, but I've never really sort of delved deep into what actually happened and how it sort of like affected my family and my life to now, I guess.
Do you want to do that? Do you want to tell people,
absolutely,
what happened?
Yeah, so mum and dad, so growing up, obviously dad was a real rough man.
How so?
Very violent, just a pig of a man, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
So like, I've got probably a few memories of my dad. One of them when he was dragging my mum around the table by her hair. Mum kicked him out. He come around the house and smashed all the windows. Another one, and obviously my siblings have been through a lot more, and they don't say a lot, to be honest. But my older siblings hate my old man. because he would kick him out of the house. They'd be scared of the dark, so he'd lock him in a dark room. They'd pee their pants and stuff. They'd just be like so scared. And obviously, I didn't see any of this. So mum and dad weren't together, obviously, when dad was killed. But growing up, he had a friendship group. There was a guy named Mad Mick and another guy named Praddy. I'm not sure if I think it was Michael Willis, I think his name was. He's been sent back to New Zealand. They were just rough alcoholics, just not good people at all. They used to come around home, get on the piss, absolutely blind drunk, and they'd be out the front punching, hitting each other with posts with nails and stuff in it. And then the actual night Dad got murdered, we went to go get dropped off at Dad's house. He lived in Nyora, we're living in Poolong. And as we got out of the car, Mum and Dad had an argument. Mum was like, "Get back in the car, you're not staying here." And then Dad rang us that night and we're chatting to him on the phone. They called him Mad Mick. He was over having beers with Dad, and then supposedly got in a heated argument. Dad kicked him out of the house. Dad fell asleep on the couch, come back with an axe and murdered him. And that was probably the hardest thing. Was at the time, all the newspapers, like the TV and stuff, there was a lot of articles that a guy in Nyora had been hit by a car, he'd been shot. So we actually didn't know what would happen, had happened.
You didn't know?
Yeah, up until probably a couple of days later when the cops come. Yeah, as I said, you never really think something like that's going to happen to you. And then when it does, it was really weird. And probably being so young, as I said before, I didn't really understand what had happened. I was 6, I was so oblivious. I knew something bad had happened. And I guess it has affected me in ways that as I get older, I sort of understand why.
What are some of those things?
I think just my upbringing was Mum just did whatever she could to raise 8 kids. I'm one of 8. There's 5 girls, 3 boys. And we didn't come from a lot. It was always, making things meet week to week. We're living week to week. Didn't come from a lot of money or anything. So I guess I've just been brought up to be really grateful for what I have. And I still am to this day. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to play AFL football. And I guess that's sort of shaped me into the person I am as well today. Football has been my biggest outlet growing up, seeing my siblings and stuff go off the rails. I always just come back to the football club and surround myself with really good people, and I still do the same thing to this day.
Do you think your talent in football drove you to perhaps give your mum a life or a desire for a life that you didn't have, perhaps, when it comes to money and all that sort of stuff? I
think in a certain way, yes. I always, growing up, my dream was to play AFL, and obviously I knew what Mum had been through. Mum's never owned a house. She works her arse off. She's one of the hardest workers I've ever met.
Still?
And still to this day, she'd give you the last 50 cents out of her pocket. She's the most generous person. And growing, obviously I want to look after her, and you think, I'm going to play AFL, I'm going to win the Brownlow medal, I'm going to play 300 games. And it doesn't happen like that. And you think, I'm going to make this huge amount of money. And when I did I signed a really good contract when I went to the GWS Giants, and each month I was giving Mum a certain amount of money to help her out. And I think probably one of the disappointing things at the time was I was giving her money, but my other siblings were also they would ask for money. They wouldn't ask how I'm going.
From you?
Yeah, from me. So I was giving my mum money, and then they were getting money off me, and then getting money off Mum as well. And it's a hard position to be in, because I love my family, and I've got a lot of siblings, and a lot of the time it'd be, I need to get I need to get my nephew something. So, but then you see that, and then you give them the money, and then you go on Facebook and, they're down the pub drinking Jack Daniel cans and stuff. But I don't think money was a big driver. It's obviously helps in life, obviously, but I don't think money was a big factor, because Mum always sort of kept me grounded and made sure. One of the quotes Mum always told me was, never forget where you come from. And I come from nothing. So if you got money, it's all well and good, but it's not the be all end all.
I saw something that was pretty eye-opening in my research. And it was a quote from an article that you said a while ago, but I read it and I was honestly like, wow, like you could have easily have gone off the rails with the quote that I'm about to read and the mindset, I guess. And perhaps this is just a representation of the times or the environment in which you're in, but I suspect in today's environment, it would be different or treated differently.
Yep.
But we were living with the old lady at the time, and I'll never forget her saying to me a couple of days later, for God's sake, would you stop grieving and stop crying in front of those children? So that was it. After that, I didn't have much time to grieve because of the kids. I put all my attention into them. So she was saying that to you, your mum.
Yeah.
Don't grieve.
So at the time, I remember that article actually. Obviously, all her family and my dad's family were obviously understanding what was going on, but they were saying to mum, stop sooking, stop moaning and groaning. Okay. You've got 8 kids you got to look after.
So they weren't saying that to you?
No, they were saying that to my mum.
Okay. And I'll never get her saying sorry, of course.
Yeah, and it was more about her obviously sucking up in a sense and obviously doing what she can to make sure us kids were all right.
Is there a memory or a flashback or something that you can talk to that sort of takes you back to that recovery phase, I guess, whether you call it a recovery or not, but like the phase after in which he had passed away?
It was pretty rough for a while because, as I said earlier, mum and dad weren't together anymore. And then when dad did get killed, us as kids wanted to get him buried closer to home. But there was a lot of stuff that went down in court that sort of turned us off dad's side of the family. They don't know exactly what happened, but when they went to court, dad's family tried to blame mum for killing dad, which obviously wasn't the case. And then when we wanted to get dad buried in closer to home, they chose Terang, which was 6-7 hours away from us. So like it was hard to get down there and see him. And then one of dad's brothers who we didn't like, he passed away years ago and he chose to get buried on top of dad, which we didn't want, but we also didn't want to kick up a stink. So like I find it really weird. Like I'm not one that like would go and visit my dad's grave. I don't see the reasoning behind it. Like some people might do that and go talk and stuff, but for me, it just feels weird in a sense. And knowing that someone we don't like is now buried with him, it's just more of a reason sort of not to go down there.
That hard?
It's a hard question because I'm not sure even if he wasn't, if I'd be going there. I think it's just knowing that it's sort of like a kick in the guts. We didn't want that, but they made sure it happened in a sense.
You said your siblings hated him. You were probably too young to hate him. But is there an internal battle of like a what if? Like what if he was still around? Is that something you still...
That's a great question because it's probably growing up and like coming through the ranks, living out my childhood dream. One of the hardest things for me is not having my dad around to see me. And that's regardless of knowing the type of person he was. Towards the end, like when dad got murdered, he'd settled down. Like he wasn't with mum. He was obviously still drinking and stuff, but the violence and stuff had stopped. He was a bit older at the time. Like he was helping out with our local footy at Nyora and stuff. But yeah, I guess, yeah, it's a hard one. Like he was such a shit person, but I've missed out on, we had days when I was at Carlton, like a dads and dudes day where, you look around the room and all the dads are there, and even like coming through the ranks, like mum's always been my father figure. Like she's always taken me to the footy. She's never missed out on games or anything like that. Like did a lot to help me get to the ranks. But there was also always that little piece of me that was jealous of other kids that had their dad around. And I guess that probably goes back to how I was saying I was really embarrassed about talking about it, because I think I was in a way jealous that other kids were getting that and I wasn't. But I definitely still think today, like what would it have been like if he was around to see me live out my childhood dream. And probably on the other hand, the one I think about even more is, what is the guy that killed my dad thinking, seeing me play footy? And I always find it really weird. I watch a lot of like crime shows, and like I'm not a psychopath killer or anything. Me and my partner love watching like crime shows and murder mysteries and murder mysteries and stuff. But I always think like, what would he be thinking? Because when I first got drafted, when I first played my first game, the Sydney Herald or whatever the paper is up there, they did a really big article on the back page about how the day I was debuting was the day Dad's killer was getting out, which wasn't the case at all. But yeah, I've always really wondered what he would be thinking, probably more than what it'd be like to have my dad around, which is really weird.
Is there a word or something that you can attribute to how it has shaped you into who you are today? I'm assuming it's accumulation of things, but yeah, is there something? Or
in like terms of the incident?
Yeah, like how it shaped you. Is there something you feel like you behave or you act as a person now that is a representation of what you went through?
I reckon understanding. Now I'm coach, I've got a great partner and stuff. I think I'm really understanding of building relationships and understanding what people are going through and what they've been through. And like, I feel like as coach down at Warrigal, I build great relationships, and I feel like I'm a person they can open up to in terms of things they've gone through, because what I've been through. But yeah, if I had to say one word, it's probably understanding.
You spoke about his killer and what he thinks. Is that something you still think about today?
All the time. Yeah, big time. So there's actually, one of my uncles is a detective, and I contacted him probably 5 years ago because Dad and his best mate, like they grew up together and like they both had rough upbringings and stuff. But Mum always said that Mad Mick was always really protective of us kids, which is really weird. Obviously a really violent man, but he used to punch on with Dad and stuff when he would treat the kids really poorly. So like he was obviously a really bad man,
yeah.
But when it come to children and stuff, he was like really protective, which is weird in a way, because Mum was always saying that she thinks that the reason he killed Dad is from the hate from what he did to the kids.
His kids or yours?
Ours. So Mad Mick killed my dad because the way he treated my siblings growing up.
I thought you said he would protect them.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, so Mad Mick was very protective.
Yeah.
And that's why he hated the way my dad treated us kids growing up.
Really?
Whether that's true or not. But yeah, years ago I tried to, I forget the name. It's like something to do with like the law and stuff. I wrote a big letter asking for all the documents, because obviously in court everything that's said is wrote down. And I want to get all the files, because I've always been really intrigued to know, and this probably goes on the back of what we were talking about just before, I've always been really intrigued to know what he said in the court and why he did it. So I wrote I had to fill out heaps of forms and stuff, but I actually got denied. I'm not sure why they wouldn't give them to me. Like just pages and pages of what was said, what happened. I guess that's probably one thing that plays on my head the most is like why. And obviously Mum say stuff and my siblings say stuff, but you never know, I guess.
Do you still think about that?
Definitely, yeah. Yeah, big
Is that
time.
the main thing, do you think?
I think so, yeah. Yeah.
Do you want to know why?
I think so, yeah. I think it would just put me at ease a bit, because I've been thinking about it for, 25, 26 years. And it's really weird. Like, you'd probably think so much trauma, I wouldn't want to know or read what happened and stuff like that. But I'm just really intrigued to know why. I think it just put me at ease a bit.
Is it pain when you think of it? What's the emotion?
I wouldn't say pain. I think it's hard to even explain the emotion, because it's just been normal for me growing up without a dad. Like it's been 26 years now. And obviously along the way there's been, things that happened in my life where, it would have been great to have my dad there. But I'm at a time in my life now where I'm just so happy and so content that, like when I think about it, I don't think much emotion, which might be really weird, because there's obviously a lot of childhood trauma and stuff, but I'm just at a place in my life where I'm yeah, just really happy and life's really good.
Did that Mad Mick guy, he's out now?
Yeah, so he ended up getting 16 years. And then when he got out, they sent him back to New Zealand.
If I was you, that would play in my mind. Like, there's someone out there that did something horrific. Or
Big time. So
yeah.
I think he got out and he was living down in Geelong. I'm pretty sure when he got out, the cops had to let my mum know where he was living and stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously not the address, I don't think, but that's another thing that always crossed my mind. I literally wanted to find out where he lived and just go sit at the front of his house just to see what he looked like.
Really?
Yeah, and like I never did, obviously, and
Why? Why did you want to do that?
I'm just so intrigued because I don't have a lot of memories of like what he looked like and stuff. I just wanted to put a face to the name and the person that killed my dad, which again, I've said a lot of things that probably wouldn't resonate with a lot of people with, the trauma and stuff, but I've just always been really intrigued to wanting to know why, what he looks like and why he did it. And everyone would be like, well, do you think if you went down there, you'd get out of the car or anything? And I don't think I would. I honestly think I would just want to see what he looks like. But until that happened, I guess you never know.
If that was to happen, like you would just look at him and you wouldn't even. I can see where you're doing. I can see where you're going with it. It's almost like, well, it doesn't sound like your reaction to that is, I want to kill him.
No, not at all.
It's more of an understanding almost.
It is because I've been thinking about it my whole life since I was 6, I guess. I think about what he looks like, and even like sometimes I'll look up articles or try and find a photo of him, which I can't. Because it's really weird. I just want to see what he looks like. Obviously, he's in jail for 16 years.
Yeah.
So if he changed a lot or whatnot.
Have you got many photos of the old man?
Not a lot. So probably another disappointing thing was when Dad was murdered, his family made it really hard for us to get his stuff. So like I remember I bought him at school, it was like Father's Day, how they do like those, they bring in stuff and you buy something and take it home for Father's Day and Mother's Day. I bought him like this big, like a ship, and I gave that to him for one Father's Day and I couldn't even get that back. So like when Dad died, we literally got nothing.
Why do you think that is? Why do they do that?
I think it was just, I think maybe Dad's brothers and stuff were similar to him. Just not nice people.
What were some of the, and I know it's sort of going over stuff we've already spoken about, but like what do you think in addition to what you haven't spoken about were some of the unmet needs, I guess, that you battled with throughout your childhood as a result of what happened?
I'd probably just go back to the jealousy of not having Dad around.
Okay.
And he was obviously helping out with footy and stuff at the time. And at that time, him and Mum didn't have a great relationship, but it was like he'd come out the other side, the violence and stuff had stopped. So I guess the biggest thing I would miss is obviously what he did to my mum and my siblings. It's obviously horrible, but I guess the thought is, if he wasn't killed, whether that relationship would have been built with him from football through the ranks, or whether in my heart, knowing what had happened, I wouldn't want to build that relationship.
I don't think we spoke about this before we were like officially recording, but you said your mum thought about it and looked back on it and said it was the whole understanding here, or the whole thing is about what you're saying is like, it sounds like it would have been a challenge, but your mum said to you recently it wasn't. What do you think made her have that realization?
I guess like a lot of things in life at the time, whether it's you're going through a breakup with a partner you're madly in love with that you hadn't been with for 10 years, whether you're struggling in life, football's not going your way. at the time, I reckon a lot of things can seem really hard. And obviously this is to like the certain extent, like someone getting murdered. But I guess in life, even now, like you just got to find a way. And obviously having 8 kids probably helped her in a way that she had to. She had no other choice. It was either help us or nothing happens, I guess. So in a way, maybe having us kids probably helped her move on.
Do you wonder how she did it? Like today?
I do, but I also understand that my older siblings helped a lot. They were looking after us so mum could work and stuff. And as they got older, like 18 and stuff, they moved out with their boyfriends. We'd be staying there to make sure we get to school and stuff. So early days, I wonder how she did it, absolutely. But towards like a few years later, it was my older siblings definitely helped out a lot, a real lot.
Amongst everything that you've said so far, it's clear that you're perhaps on a different path to your siblings. I'm not sure if that's true or not. How did it not happen to you?
I think I'll just go back to hanging around good people.
Yeah, okay. Even at that age?
Well,
Were you the youngest?
I'm number 7.
Okay.
The youngest is Darcy Lee, the younger sister. And to be honest, I did have a great relationship with all my siblings, probably up until like when I was drafted and stuff. Yeah, I had a great relationship. It's probably been the last, 15 years, I'd say, or 10 years, where they've obviously got older, had kids and stuff. And I'm not here to shit can my family, but we're just very different in, I don't have kids yet. I'm the only one out of 8 with no kids. And I'm the only one to finish year 12. And when I was drafted, they were always like, oh, you're the golden boy, this and that. And you know what? I didn't have happen to me what happened to them, but I also had trauma for being a kid. And I could have chose to go down the wrong path and abuse alcohol and drugs, but I didn't. And that's probably the most frustrating bit. I've helped my family out a lot. And now it's at a point, a couple of years ago, where, I'm just going to look after myself now. And I've still got a great relationship with a couple of my siblings. Like I'm super close to my older sister, Casey. But yeah, I'm at a point in my life where, if something happened and they needed me, obviously be there for them. But yeah, we're just on different paths in terms of what I think is normal and what they think is normal. And that's nothing against them, because that's probably the saddest bit. I think I look back and I'm sorry they had to go through that, because what they think is like normal isn't normal, but that's actually normal to them with what they've been through. So I can't sit here and judge them because I haven't walked in their shoes, which is really hard. And sort of like, it's always bit of I've always got a soft spot for them, that's for sure, because they're my siblings at the end of the day. But yeah, I guess it's just got to a point where they're living their own life and I'm up here
Sounds
living
like
my own life.
There's a bit of, for you to come to that realization that you're just looking after yourself, I'm assuming there's accumulation of bad shit that happened to make you have that realization. Would that be fair?
Yeah, definitely. And to be honest, if it wasn't for my nieces and nephews, it probably would have been a realization a lot quicker. Their normal is, some of them don't work, which is nothing against that, but they don't ask. If I get a message from one of my siblings, I'd instantly think how much money they want. It's never, hey Jed, how you going? Which is probably the most disappointing thing.
Would disappointing be the right word?
Probably frustrating thing. Sad in a sense. Because obviously I'd love to be really close to my family, but I've come to a realization that I'm not. And that's fine, because there's not a lot of normal families these days. Like the families you think are most normal are probably the one with the biggest issues inside the four walls, to be honest. And I'm obviously missing out on having a dad around, but then obviously missing out on, my siblings through my AFL career. Like I was really close to my brother Zeke, who's the second brother, and we were always really competitive with football. And again, I'm not here to shit can him, but I played 66 AFL games. I think he might have come to one. If I think about my brother getting drafted, I'd be at every game possible. A lot of my siblings did come, but I don't know whether that was a bit of jealousy and stuff, but I just still think to this day, like, your brother is living out his childhood dream. And I get it'd be hard because that was his dream as well, but it's probably easy for me to say because I was in the position where I did get drafted, but I'd like to think if the roles were reversed, then, I'd be flying to stay. I'd be going to every game I possibly could.
You spoke about being their views of you being the golden boy. Do you think there was a degree of pressure, I guess, that you felt internally from that?
No, it was always a bit of not so much a running joke, but they'd always call me the golden boy, and I'd literally just reply with, I'm not the golden boy, I've just done something with my life.
Okay.
And I'm really proud of that. Like, to an extent, I was a golden boy because obviously mum was spending a lot of time taking me to games and stuff, but the other siblings weren't doing things on weekends and stuff. So I can see where they're coming from, but also made me realise that, I'm doing something with my life.
How's your mum amongst all of this now?
Mum's a really tricky one to talk about because I've got such a soft spot for my mum. Like, she's been my rock. She's been my mum and my dad growing up. And mum doesn't have a great relationship with my older sister, Casey, who I'm very close with. There's certain things, because I'm so young and I don't ask questions because I don't want to know, because obviously dad was horrible to mum. And I think my older sister, Casey, is thinking, well, she allowed dad to do this to an extent is true, but also mum would have been frightened of my dad, to pack up and leave. Domestic violence and stuff, you hear about it now, like it takes ages. They think about doing it, but then they're obviously too scared to do it. So I think a lot of my sister Casey has a lot of blame on my mum, so that they have no relationship at all. They don't talk. And as I've gotten older, just being around my sister Casey and stuff, like she says things and I instantly just block it out because I don't want to know those things about mum. Not that it makes me love her less. I just got a really soft spot for her. She's worked really hard and she's never had a lot of money, never owned her own house, never been married, but she's just she's the most beautiful person. Like, she's just so loving and caring and giving. But yeah, like there's certain things I think back on that I think, Jesus, that wasn't being a good mother also, but I sort of blocked that out because what she's been through.
Sounds like there's still a lot of like unhealed pain, I guess. And a lot of like, you're still wondering about a lot of things as well.
Yeah, absolutely. If I had it my way, like I used to always think about just messaging all my siblings, my mum, just saying, come
Catch
here,
up.
let's just sit down, put it all out on the table. Like, I'm sick of being a broken family, but things just got so bad that was never going to happen.
You see a world in which that could?
Absolutely not. No way.
Does that hurt?
I think, as I said before, I'm just used to it now. I'm used to it. Christmas and stuff, I think about it all the time. I can't remember the last time I had a family Christmas. One of the last family Christmases I honestly went to was my older brother got drunk and grabbed mum by the throat and I ended up leaving. So a lot of violence and stuff. So
I remember you saying when you got drafted, you didn't want to leave.
Yeah, so obviously come from a small country town, close mates, obviously really tight with mum. Yeah, it was really hard to leave, to be honest. Obviously, I'd just been drafted. The night of the actual draft, when my name was read out, I actually left the pub and went home and I was bawling my eyes out and mum chased me home. She said, "What's wrong?" I said, "I don't want to leave you and brothers and sisters and mates. And she said, suck it up, get your ass back down the pub. You're going. And it was really hard. My first couple of weeks, I was crying on the phone to mum. And I come home one weekend, and it was like the local rivalry derby, Yarram versus the Allies. And it was time to get a lift back to the airport. And I just broke down crying. I actually ended up ringing Reece Shaw. I was at Sydney at the time. And I said, I don't want to come back. And he said, give me a bit. He rang John Longmire, and John Longmire rang me, just said, come back up, mate, and we'll sit down with you and we'll work out a plan of weekends and stuff. You can go home.
Don't want to cut you off, but I saw this status you made in 2013.
Anyone want to drive back to Sydney with me in State Mine for the weekend?
Do you remember? I'm assuming you don't remember writing that, but I'm assuming 3rd of January 2013. Is that almost when you're up in Sydney?
Yeah, correct.
So you were battling.
Yeah,
I'm assuming that's because knowing what you said before, I saw that and I was like, he obviously misses home.
Yeah, and I did get homesick for a couple of years, but it wasn't constant. It would come in like ebbs and flows. Just when you're playing AFL, it's such a good lifestyle, but you miss out on a lot of family events and friendship of like functions and stuff like, and that's a sacrifice obviously you're willing to do because you're living out your childhood dream, I guess. But yeah, there were times with mates' 21st, like niece and nephew's birthdays. They're probably the times where you do get homesick because you're missing out. And at that time was probably when the family was still talking and close knit. But I had a great like friendship group that would fly up on weekends and visit and watch me play and stuff. And mum would come up whenever she could. And the clubs are really good. Like once you first get drafted, I think you maybe get like 10 return flights for your family. So they fly them up for like your first game and just when you're feeling homesick, I guess.
Did you feel like, what was the emotion you could put to? I know there was that emotion at the start, but like with everything that you've gone through or went through, to actually get drafted and live out your dream, I'm assuming there had to be a level of let's go.
Yeah, it was. It's still a very clear memory. Yeah. The night of the draft, my manager at the time told me I was either going to go pick 19 to Hawthorn or pick 21 to Sydney, and Fremantle had picked 20, and Hawthorn, they picked up Isaac Smith, who went on to be a 3-time premiership player. So
I remember you saying that too.
They're probably regretting that decision.
Yeah, you said that. Yeah.
And then pick 20. I was just hoping I didn't go to Fremantle. Obviously, I wanted to stay in Victoria, but ended up going to Sydney, but Perth's a lot further away. Then I was at local pub. The pub was packed. Had like the local Win News videoing stuff, and name was read out, and the pub just went mental. And it's just such a surreal feeling because you grow up like watching, idolising these guys, and within 2 minutes I'm on the phone to like John Longmire. I got messages from Adam Goods, Jared McVeigh, Ryan O'Keefe.
Didn't someone call you who got a later draft? Who was it?
Lukey Parker. Yeah. So Lukey Parker rang me and I didn't know what was going on. I was like, what's going on? He goes, I've just been drafted with you. I was like, sorry, mate, I wasn't watching. But he went on to play 300 games on the weekend.
So when you made it up to Sydney, and I remember you saying, sorry, I got cut off there, but I remember you saying like you thought it was going to be like a cruisy, like 300, 200 games, like that's a lock in. And for that not to happen, like it actually was harder than you initially thought.
Yeah, and that's throughout my AFL career, when I look back, the biggest regret I have is I got drafted off pure talent. Like I was such a talented 18-year-old kid playing up forward. I had like long hair. I wore the brightest boots you could possibly think of. And obviously as a young kid, that's what you draft off, pure talent. First couple of years definitely didn't have the work ethic. I just thought it was going to happen. I was so complacent. And it probably wasn't until my second year where Ryan O'Keefe and Jared McVeigh were doing it's called the Premiership Quarter. So they travel overseas to orphanages and stuff and donate like books and money and stuff. So they got up in front of the group and said, if anyone's wanting to come, it's a free trip, it'd be good for you. And I had a couple of injuries and stuff and wasn't working out as well as I thought it would. Never been overseas, so I spoke to them. They said it'd be great for you, might open your eyes a bit to, how good we do have it. So I ended up going to Burma, which is, I think they've changed the name to Myanmar now, Southeast Asia. So we did like a 15-day cycling trip, which was really tough. Like it was like up and down. We're doing 100K a day. But that was probably the first time where it really hit home how good I did have it and put a perspective on things. Like all these orphanages and stuff were going to the most happiest kids with absolutely nothing. And here I am, when I got back to pre-season, the best thing about it was, when I had 400 on the third one, things were getting really hard. Oh, geez, this sucks. I'm going to pull back a bit when I'd be thinking about, well, no, the trip I've been on, like, I'm so grateful. They've got nothing and they're so happy. And here I am sooking and moaning about getting paid to do something I absolutely love.
It sounds like you've developed an appreciation still of the small things. I'm not sure if that's a true statement or not, but
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. I remember a quote Adam Good said to me. He's obviously he'd have he's done very well in life. He'd be very successful and set up. And we'd go for coffees every Monday. We'd go across the road from the SCG and go to Gloria Jean's. We'd get a hot chockey and some cookies from Subway, and we'd just sit down with a few of the young lads and chat. And I asked him a question one time, like, "Are you rich?" And he literally replied to me. He said, I'm super rich because I've got a great family and great friends. He goes, and he was driving a little Toyota Astra, like could be driving the most fancy car, but it wasn't about that for him. Like he was more about like community and his friends and family. But like that's one thing that's always stuck to me is like a big rock star, won Brownlow medals, and he's sitting there having a coffee with me saying, yeah, I'm rich, but because I've got a loving family and friends.
I remember when you said you went to GWS, that's probably what you were lacking.
Big time.
Like that leadership.
Absolutely. And I was made to bust my ass to get my first game at Sydney. I was playing really well in the twos and week after week just wasn't getting picked. And then I went from leaders, and no disrespect because Giants have become a powerhouse and the young leaders at the time were very young and they become great leaders of the game. Phil Davis, Callum Ward, Stephen Caniglo, Jeremy Cameron, players like that. But going from Sydney to Giants, at that time, they were just doing the facilities. So we'll literally using ice baths, like rubbish bins as ice baths and stuff. And probably just going from that, having that leadership to then go to the Giants was a really big wake-up call. And they're obviously full of talent, still are, but back then, obviously, they were getting high draft picks. And because they were so young, speaking to like a couple of guys when I went across there, like early days, they were pretty much just like rotating who was playing. It wasn't, you were never really made to, earn your spot. Like I felt like I had a Giants. And probably I didn't hate the Giants, don't get me wrong, but probably another regret is leaving Sydney.
You said on another podcast that you felt like your career was best served when at Sydney or something, or you just, because I think you played at 3 clubs.
Yeah.
The question was almost like, where did you feel best at? Or where did you feel like your career was, the progression was, let's just say, on the right path?
Yeah, and it was definitely Sydney. And that's probably one thing I regret. I love my time at Giants, don't get me wrong, but for my career, Sydney were a powerhouse at the time. They won the flag when I was there. My third year there, I'd played 12 games that year. They were going really well. And Buddy Franklin, at the end of the year, had just been spotted touring the GWS facilities, and I was actually back home in the off-season. And throughout the year, the Sydney Swans had offered me a 2-year extension, but it was pretty much the same money I was already on, so I found that a bit weird and spoke to my manager. He just said, we'll hold off to the end of the year, see what happens. And I was back home. I was at the local bakery with a couple of mates, and I got a phone call from my manager. And he goes, Buddy Franklin's just signed at the Swans for 10 years. I said, well, that sort of makes sense why, they're offering me peanuts. And then the next day, my manager rang me back and said, well, Giants are willing to offer you this. And young kid, saw dollar signs, spoke to my family and stuff, was just my partner at the time. It was a contract that most blokes my age would probably say yes to. But in hindsight, the best thing for me at that time would have to stay at the Sydney Swans.
Why do you think that is? And I'm assuming here that what you said about having that mentorship and leadership, Was that the first time you had ever had, for lack of a better word, a father figure? You know, like not a father figure, but like someone who was older that was like guiding you in the right direction?
Yeah, I think so. But to a certain extent, my career is a lot on me. I went probably the big dollar signs. I met with Leon Cameron and Stephen Silvani. You know, it was, you come across, you're playing seniors, you know, you're playing good footy at the Swans, you play regular senior football every week for the Giants. So it probably softened my mindset a bit, to be honest. It softened my resolve, and I went across there complacent, thinking I was just going to play. And it was a big reality check. It was a wake-up call. Probably didn't go out there the fittest I needed to be, so I wasn't picked round one. And leading up to round one, I was obviously really good mates with Gary Rowan, and they used me and him as like a rivalry thing on the back page of the paper. And then I actually wasn't picked, so I was really embarrassed. Like, they'd used me for the build-up, but then didn't get selected. At the time, I was angry, but now I understand. Like, it was a reflection of me going out there complacent, thinking it was going to happen. And then from there, I was just chasing my tails behind the 8 ball and sort of button heads early days with the coach, Leon Cameron, not getting picked. I was playing really well in the twos, just couldn't find my spot in the senior group.
How were you as a person when all that was happening?
Probably throughout my AFL career, I was always very anxious. And a lot of blokes in my position are the same. There's a lot of blokes at football clubs that are the 22nd pick or the 23rd bloke picked every week. So I was always anxious about, did I play well? I'd be on the phone straight after the game. How many kicks did I have? How many tackles? Did I kick any goals? That night I'd be messaging the forward line coach, what do you think? Do you think I'll be playing next week? And like, it just gets draining. It's so exhausting and tiring. Like, you get to the midweek or end of the week and you're generally just exhausted until actual Thursday when the team gets picked and you're in the senior team. It's just like, oh, thank goodness.
Was it a relief when it was over then?
I don't think a relief. I think I still had some really good footy ahead of me.
Of course, because
it was my 8th year, and it was the most games I played. I think I missed 2 games that season. They'd moved me to the halfback. I was playing really good footy, and
that's my bad.
I was really enjoying it. So yeah, I thought I was a bit stiff to get cut, but at the end of the day, footy is just a business, isn't it?
What are the best memories of your time playing?
First game. Something that sticks in my mind is just that day when John Longmire called me into his office. We trained the day before, and there was a couple of blokes with injury clouds, and Horse come up to me and goes, "Do you reckon you're ready to go?" I said, "Absolutely." And then the next day I come in the club really early, and I was just hovering around his office hoping he'd grab me, and lucky enough he said, "Yeah, come to the office." And I think the most rewarding thing is like obviously getting the call up, but then like being able to ring mum and tell her that I'm playing. And a lot of blokes say, and it's so true, like they always know when they win best and fairest, it's always, I wouldn't be here without, my partner and my mum and dad, which is so true. Like without mum, there's no way I would have played AFL football.
Mum's amazing. After my old man died, she pretty much raised 8 kids. She's always worked hard, always drove me everywhere for football, and sacrificed everything so I could play. She's been an inspiration for my football career. I wish every day it didn't happen. You never think stuff like this could happen to your family, but it's made me appreciate things a lot more. In what way, you said she's been an inspiration for my football career?
Just how hard she works. Never hear her sulking and moaning. As I said earlier, like she's never had a lot of things, a lot of money, never owned a house, never been married. Her father of her kids was murdered. It'd be pretty easy to sort of go in your shell, but just the person mum is, she's just lives in the local small town in Yarram, and everyone just loves her. She's just so well respected. And yeah, she just, when times were tough, she just found a way to get me to games, to be honest. Whether it was borrowing money for fuel or getting me a lift somewhere, it was never if it was going to happen. It was always, how is she going to make it happen?
At what time do you think it was the toughest? Like, is there something or a flashback that you've had that is just like, something that stays with you in the years after?
Probably one of the roughest days, and this has got to do with my brother. We had like as I mentioned earlier, we had like a dads and dudes day, and I invited my brother Zeke, to come down to the footy club. They come in, they train with us and stuff, and it was just no show. So like everyone had someone in the room, whether it was a father, an uncle, a cousin, or a mate, and I invited my brother because I want him there, and literally just didn't rock up. So I'm sitting there by myself, empty seat, and I was just embarrassed. Like I was really embarrassed.
Why?
Probably the fact that how can your brother not show up, I guess. And everyone thinking, well, where's Lammy's dad, or where's his mate, or where's his brother?
Was it okay? Like, was everyone aware of, like, so I'm assuming now, like this whole mental health and feelings and opening up and talking, that's a big part of football clubs. Was it big back then?
Not as big, no way. I think like over the last 10 years, they've done a great job with mental health. And even my last couple of years, we'd do things once a week in meetings where they'd pick 2 players every week to talk about their family, a bit of their upbringing, and a bit of trauma or hardship they've been through in their life. And blokes would actually like get up and break down crying, and after like the meeting, you'd like walk out and everyone would just be like hugging each other and supporting each other. But it's definitely grown. Even now I'm coaching country football. Like I've taken a couple of those meetings on our way, like our training camp at the start of the year. And just knowing the guys, thinking, all these guys are so happy and stuff. They're so bubbly. When I took them away, we did the same activity, partner with someone you don't usually hang out with, talk about your family, your upbringing, something that a really good memory and something, a bit of hardship about yourself. And literally probably 90% of the boys got up and just broke down crying. And like as a coach, this was my first year. Like I went away from that just thinking, well, you know what, if we don't win a game this year, I feel like I've already done my job as coach. And now I'm still there coaching. It's honestly like the most tight-knit group because everyone's like so vulnerable, and we've made it so warm and welcoming to not be okay.
I remember a quote, and it said something about your dad. I think your sibling or one of your brothers said your dad be proud of you. With what you just said there, and having had the chance to reflect on the man you are today, do you think you would be proud?
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. And going back to like what we were talking about before, it's sort of a question I'll never have the answer to. And a lot of the questions I don't have answers to. And that's probably the hardest thing that plays on my mind, is having all these unanswered questions that I want to know. But yeah, I definitely think he would be proud, that's for sure.
What's the importance of close mates and friendship and connection amongst all of this? Because like I said before, like there is a part of me that thinks, how have you not gone off the rails, honestly?
Yeah, and like I've got the best friendship group. I don't see them all that often, but I don't need to. I speak to them on the phone all the time, and when I catch up with them, it's honestly like I've seen them the night before. Like nothing changes ever. We understand that they've got busy schedules, I've got a busy life, but at the end of the day, like there's just so much love and genuine care. And I guess the best thing with my friendship group is like my best mate Corbin, when I was playing at Carlton, he lost his mum to suicide. So I was actually going home to meet him for one of my cousin's birthdays, and he's a real larrikin jokester. And he put a status up saying, "Can someone help me? I need help." And I rang him just to make sure. And I was at the Arrogant pub with my sister Casey having dinner on the way to the party. And I rang him. I couldn't understand him. He's born. He's like, "I'm in the garage. I can't get mum down." And I just like froze and like dropped my phone. I just ran out to the car, literally got to Yarram so quick. Like if I got done by the cops, I would have lost my license for years. And I guess that's probably from such a small country town, a lot of my friends have been through a lot of stuff as well. So I guess that sort of brings us a bit closer. We understand when we're not okay and stuff. And we're very open to, the mental health side of things. It's okay to not be okay. Like we always check in on each other, gone on the days of, it's weak to speak. Because as I said, you never know what someone's gone through. You might be the most upbeat bloke and so happy and your life is doing really well. You're successful, got money, your work's really good. But there might be also something behind the scenes that's not going so well and you're putting on a front with your work and everything else that people don't see.
If there's someone listening to this that has that mentality and they're thinking perhaps there isn't anyone to talk to, what would you say to them?
Absolutely there is. And like I'm a big believer. Sometimes I find that it's harder to open up to people close to you. And that's probably a male thing. But Paddy Pimblett, the UFC boxer, I love this quote. And I said this quote on my first footy camp. He'd rather take a phone call at 2 a.m. to his mate balling than a call in the morning to say his mate's killed himself.
Yeah. That was on when he got on the mic.
On the mic, yeah. I just think there's always someone willing to listen, whether you got a great relationship with them or you don't. Like I'd be willing to chat to a random if I knew they were struggling. Like I just, think it's a massive thing, and if I can help in any way, I would.
You've been described to me as a big, I'm just going to read it out here. He's a mate who's always there. He's always checking in and he feels everything deeply. Would you say that is accurate? And would you see that whole checking in piece and the mate that's always there, I guess, is an extension of, and I'm not sure, like, because everything sort of comes back to childhood.
Yeah.
A lot of things come back to childhood. Yeah. And that whole connection piece, that whole checking in, are you okay? Is that, I guess, it's a hard, like you didn't have as close of a family connection. Is that what you're sort of trying to develop, I guess, amongst all your mates? Is that like?
Absolutely. Like I look at my friend as my family.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And the whole check-in thing, and it goes hand in hand with down at Warragul where I'm coaching, like it's all well and good checking in the first week, but I'm really big on driving to my players and my mates, and we do it really well it's not the first week or the second week where they're struggling when you need to check in. It's the fourth or fifth week or the third month where people sort of forget about, obviously their life gets busy and you forget about what they've been through. So it's obviously, as a friendship group, we keep that front of mind. Is, as I said, we don't speak all the time, but when we do, it's powerful and actually means something. And we got groups and stuff and we have great laughs and stuff, but it's such a caring group that it's not just 1 week where they check in, they'll check in the third week, the fourth week, the fifth week. And it's just, I guess, me doing that and them giving it back, it just makes me want to do it more.
Do you open up to your players and stuff as well about how you're feeling?
Absolutely. Definitely.
Are there down days still?
Absolutely. Like,
I think you're only human.
I think everyone has down days. Sure. Absolutely. And
of course. What do you think that stems from? Would that be like that, what you're talking about, the overthinking and going back to what happened? Or would it other just day-to-day stuff?
I think more just day-to-day stuff, to be honest.
Of course.
Like when I took on the job as coaching country football, you think, not much to it, but I probably do more work for coaching than I do for my job at the moment. Just obviously trying to make sure everyone's happy. You got 40, 50 blokes you're looking after. Everyone's trying to play seniors. A lot of stuff goes on behind the scenes with people are saying this, people are saying that. And I guess you spend so much time consumed trying to give back to them, where you sort of, probably down days are the days where you forget about looking after yourself a bit because you're giving so much to everyone else. I feel like they're the days where I'd be down the most, where I'm solely focused on everything and anything and anyone else, rather than understanding how I'm feeling at the time.
You're pretty good at picking that up though now?
I think so. Like I think I'm good at picking it up. I think, and if you spoke to my partner, like at times I can be upbeat and then I'll be really moody all of a sudden. I think the hardest thing for me is I understand it, but it's then snapping out of it.
Your partner, you think like this whole having kids, like we were speaking about it before, everything you've said to me today and the topics and the thoughts and what your friends were saying to me on the phone is like, this is what I'm thinking now, this man's going to be a great father, and he's going to give his kids a life that he didn't have.
Yeah, and that's one thing probably the thing I'm most excited about. I've got a loving partner. We've got a great relationship, and I love kids. You know, we go to kids' parties and stuff. All the partners are inside, and I'm always the one outside playing with the kids. And I think that's going to be the biggest thing for me, and the thing that will make me the most proud is just becoming a really good father. And obviously, I've learned so much along the way in the way I've seen other kids raised and stuff. And I just want to make sure, and it's not all about having money to give them everything they want. It's just bringing them up the right way and the right morals in life. And you got to work hard to actually get somewhere in life. Like, it's not all just going to be given to you. I just want to, just be a safe protector.
When you said that, I just thought about what you said to Adam about, is he rich? Do you think, why were you asking that question? Was it just in the back of your head, or like?
I looked up to him so much, and I just want to get his, thoughts on being a big rock star and having it all going.
Did you think that was going to happen to you?
Absolutely. Yeah.
The fact it didn't, is that something that I want to say, 66 games is still unreal, but like, I'm assuming rock star's a whole nother definition, I assume.
Yeah.
Is that something that still plays on the back of your mind? And I remember you saying that you were 18 games, I think.
Yeah.
You had played, and you got dropped or delisted.
No, like, I'm so grateful for my 8 years.
Yeah.
When I got delisted, probably for 5-6 months, I was really flat and struggled. And it sounds so weird. Like, when you're playing AFL, you're sick, there's a club doctor, you need anything else, you ring the club, everything's just there and handed to you. So even like just adjusting to normal life, like, I've got to book my own doctor. Like, I got to find a doctor that I can go to all the time instead of swapping and changing, like doing all those little things. And people probably listen to be like, geez, he's, how good did he have it? But you have it so good, and you don't understand the other side of life where you're normal person that doesn't have the lifestyle or everything handed to him on a silver platter.
You're a good man. I appreciate you doing this today, man. Like, it can't have been easy. Going through what you're going through in the whole career and where you're at now, it's, inspiring comes to mind, like seeing, and I said it before, I'll say it again, like everything in your life, and that's why I said that quote at the start, like, there are so many things that happen in your life that could have resulted in something negative or bad happening.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think no matter what you're going through in life or what someone's going through in life, you either have a choice to make the right option, choose the right choice, or go down the wrong path and choose the wrong things. And you're right, I definitely could have chose to go down the wrong path. And I'm grateful that I was young and didn't understand what was going on. But I'm also proud of the life I've built and what I've given myself and the person I am today.
If your mum's listening to this in a few years, or even now, what would you say to her?
Thank you. Yeah. And it's, as I said before, it's always hard talking about mum because there's so much stuff going on within the family and wrecked relationships, and it's hard being in the middle. I love my sister Casey to death. I love my mum to death. Casey doesn't like mum. So like, it's hard for me to be around Casey and talk about mum. So yeah, I'm just very thankful that she did what she did and she just made it work.
Do you wish it was different?
No, actually no. I reckon I literally said these words when I got interviewed. If things didn't happen the way they are, or things weren't the way they are, then I wouldn't be the person I am today.
What's the best thing about who you are today?
Just live to give, love giving. obviously not a AFL player by any mean or any big figure, but one thing I always continuously do is just give back to the community, whether that's locally where I'm living in Pearsdale, having a kick with a young kid to help him better his game, or helping our juniors down at Warrigal. I feel like I'm a very generous person, and to an extent it's probably comes back to bite you on the bum at sometimes.
That's that, yeah.
And that's probably where I've had to learn to pull back on being so generous. And my partner Holly would say, like, she mentions that every now and then. She goes, you don't have to do that. Like, I love that you are so generous, but you have to start understanding that, like, you need to look after yourself.
I heard you're happy to drop a couple of $1,000 on a date.
Depends where we're going.
Really? Well, I mean, what do you think that is? Is that like a...
To be honest, I think I don't splurge a lot on like shopping and stuff like that. And I've definitely reined back on like the dinners and stuff. But me and my partner, absolutely, we love going for a nice dinner and nice wine.
Especially if Sicily's next door.
Sicily next door, absolutely. Classic.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just love trying new restaurants. 2,000, probably not that much, but
Yeah.
if it's 2,000, I'll be letting me missus pay, that's for sure.
Yeah, of course. Like I said, man, thank you for doing this today. I often, I listen, so not I listen, but I absorb, and I do a lot of research for conversations like this. And like, I spoke to your mate Ryan, and yeah, like I said, he was a cracker.
Yeah.
And when the time's right, sometimes I ask for a bit of a message or words of wisdom or advice or anything that you can put in a voicemail.
Yeah.
So I got him to do one.
That's pretty good.
I'm going to play it out for you. I'm going to play it out for you. And forewarning, it's around 3 minutes, I think. So it's a bit of a long one. Let me pull it up. My response just for you, I said, "That's perfect, mate. Unreal." I said, "You're a great friend." That's as heartfelt as it gets. I'm definitely playing that. So I've sort of just given it away here, but
yep.
I'll let the
Crumb diggity, mate. I hope the podcast is going well. I had a chance to jump on a call with Darcy earlier in the week, and I thought I was going to share a few stories, a bit of banter, have a bit of a laugh at your expense, and give you some ammo for the pod. But we ended up getting pretty deep pretty quickly, and I kind of just reflected on our 20 years of friendship and the man that I've seen you grow into. From the day you walked into school with those no-branded shoes that your mum told you were gloves for Ignatius's, and you kicked that 60-metre torry from the back pocket, we have shared a bond like no other, and I just want to say how grateful I am that you came into my life. Before we met, you went through a childhood that I wouldn't wish upon anyone, losing your dad in such tragic circumstances. And as horrible as that was, I definitely think that there were positives to that, and it helped mould you into the man you are today. You were forced to grow up before your time and quickly became the rock in your family that your mum and your brothers and sisters could always lean on when times got tough. You had every reason to take a different path, but you didn't. You made a choice not to feel hard done by. No complaints, you just got on with it, and that's who you are. You worked your ass off and pushed to get to where you are today, and for that, I'm so proud of you. You really are one in a million, the most loyal, genuine, kind-hearted and generous friend that I or anyone could ask for, and I hope that every person in this world gets to have the opportunity to have a best friend in their corner, just like you. The fact that no matter what's going on in life or how much time passes between catch-ups, I can always rely on you. The bond that we've built over those years, I would not trade it for the world. You've always had something special, a spark, that drive, the gift to make a real difference and support everyone around you. You've given more than most ever could, and you would always give the shirt off your back without thinking twice, and that's just a credit to who you are. I generally don't think I've ever heard you say a bad word about anyone, ever. You just want to see people win, and you would do anything to help see someone succeed. I love that when you walk into a room or when you speak to someone, you make them feel like they're the only person in the world. Another thing that makes what we have so special, it's not just the memories and the laughs, although we've had millions of those. It's the fact that we have a connection that goes so much deeper than surface level banter. And I think we just get each other, and we always have. And I'm so fucking grateful for it. Honestly, I could go on forever, but I just want to say thank you. Thank you for being the man that you are. Thank you for your loyalty and your friendship. Thank you for being the best mate and the best uncle to our little sunny girl that I could ever ask for. I love you, brother, forever and always. Never change.
It's powerful.
What do you feel like hearing that?
Bit emotional. It's and like hearing that, that's honestly just him as a person. Like if I was speaking to him and leaving his house, that's what he would say. Like it's not anything for show. Like it's genuine, just loving, caring. And I speak about being around good people. I think I mentioned before we started recording, like being around Ryan, he just makes you feel so warm and he cared about. He generally just loves everyone and just lives to give as well. But yeah, hearing that's very powerful, that's for sure. Definitely hits home.
Thank you, man. Like I said, appreciate, like I do appreciate, but like commend is almost like the right word, like for what you've done, even in your small community, has probably impacted more people or a lot of people. And it's even, I see it as like if you can do something for that person, like what are they doing for the others in their life?
Yeah. So
to do what you've done and what you'll continue to do, hats off to you, man.
I just think if I've inspired one person to do better in their life, then I'm happy. If it's two, even better. But the fact that you have a platform when you're playing footy and stuff to inspire people and share your story, and no doubt there's people that are going through harder things than what I've been through. But if my story can help inspire anyone coming through the ranks or whatever, then yeah, that makes me very happy.
Good way to end it. Thanks for your time, brother.
Thank you.
So good.
Loved it.
Hour and a half.
That went so quick.
Yeah.
Fuck, that went quick.
We were sitting down for an hour and a half, but obviously we ate the steak and everything, which doesn't make the steak doesn't make it.
That was good. It's always like because I've never really spoke into depth. Like it's when you ask questions, it's because I've actually never thought about it that much. You sort of got to think about it for a bit.
Yeah.
But
I obviously didn't know that he was abusive.
Big time. Pisshead, used to belt mum, black and blue.
Shit.
So not ideal, but as you said, mate, like I wouldn't change anything for the world. Like I'm so grateful for my life.
Your mum, man.
Yeah, she's truly inspiring, and like it's probably that's probably the hardest thing in my family is having the relationship with mum and my other siblings as well. Like I just feel like if I'm loving my mum, then I'm going to lose a relationship with my sister Casey, and I don't want that to happen. If I'm close to my sister Casey, that doesn't affect mum. It's more so Casey hating mum, which makes it really hard. And there's always comments here and there to ignore them and block them out, but that's probably the most difficult one.
Yeah, that's fucking hard, man.
But that's family, mate. And like there's so many people in life that you think, oh, geez, they've got a great family, but break down the walls, mate. It's probably a lot going on behind closed doors.
Gee, that bit is almost worth including at the end.
Yeah.
A good little summary. Yeah. Well, probably good. It's still recording, but mate, like I said, powerful.